Deltarune chapters 3 and 4 are finally here, and chapter 4 is awesome. It's super long and goes on forever, yet I can't complain because I don't ever want it to end. It has fantastic battles, grand music, mode 7, and pixel art reaching heights previous chapters never even attempted to get to. Oh yeah, and besides that there's also chapter 3. I have mixed feelings on chapter 3, not saying that it's a bad chapter, it holds many exceptional things. In fact, I'm gonna start by talking about some of those things. Chris, Ralsei and Susie's characters all feel just as strong as ever. I love the way Susie keeps on using mean words in the nicest way possible, like, "Hey dumbass, you're amazing!" I can't believe people are actually saying that she peaked in chapter 1. Like, come on guys, her staying as a mean bull was never really in the cards. The Susie we have now is much more interesting than the stereotypical oops all ruinous character she was. Ralsei is also great. It feels like we're actually seeing more of his character, and I love how he's evolved from treating himself like a servant to his friends to realizing that he should really try enjoying the friendship himself. But where is your mouth? And while Susie and Ralsei are great on their own, their dynamic really works well and puts a neat bow on top of their characters. What better character is there to tell Ralsei that treating herself like shit just so her friends are a tiny bit easier is stupid? But Susie, who isn't afraid to tell Ralsei how dumb he is without trying to hurt his feelings or make him feel bad. This is so amazing! Then there's Chris, who still doesn't really do much. So overall, the main three are as great as ever. But what about Mr. Ant Tenna? He's really fun. Even if he's not that different from how I expected him to act, I just love energetic characters in general. And having all his sprites be pre-rendered 3D graphics was a really neat way to make him visually distinct. Rules and Lancer are back, and I love how Rules gets into a polyamorous relationship with the Weathers. Lancer is much more in the story this time, but I think I still prefer this role in chapter 2. I can understand if the bigger Lancer fans were glad that he was there for a larger chunk of the chapter, since his lack of screen time in chapter 2 was understandably disappointing for some, but there was just something so fantastic about having Lancer be forgotten about in our inventory for the whole chapter, then having him return before the climax with its iconic theme, and then having an excellent scene with him. Lancer's theme is even played once in chapter 3, which is a shame. As for other characters, I love this random plug boy just called Ram. He should have been a watermelon though. And I even like the common enemies like the shadow guys too. And let's talk about my favorite part of this chapter. The minigames. Oh my angel, they were so fun. I don't think there's a single minigame I didn't like. And there were so many of them, and they never got old nor redundant. The chef minigame was really cool, and both the cowboy minigames were a real fun way to test your reaction speed. I liked how quickly it takes for one to understand how the games work. No tutorial needed. I guess the bonus Susicilla minigame was the only one that I didn't love, but I've only played it once, so that one might grow on me. And dude, the main boss fight against Tenna is honestly my favorite main boss yet. Combining all of the minigames like that while also being kind of difficult, actually the entire chapter has great battles. In previous chapters it often felt like Toby was afraid to make the main battles too difficult, but it doesn't feel like he's holding back anymore. The build patterns are just as hard and fun as Toby wants them to be. Now it's time to be negative. I hate the Zelda NES segments. It genuinely almost ruined the entire chapter for me, or at the very least made me very disappointed. They just go on and feel so drawn out. This type of thing should have lasted maybe a bit longer than the punch out minigame in chapter 2, but instead it's all you do for 2/3 of this chapter. And after a while it just stops being fun and starts feeling like a chore that you have to do to get to the fun parts. But the bad part about them isn't just the game in itself. Oh no, it's what they took away. Man, I am so disappointed in it. The very thing I loved about Deltarune chapter 2, heck even chapter 1, was exploring the Dark Worlds. It was amazing, it felt magical traversing their environments. I made an entire video simply talking about the look of these worlds, because that was what Deltarune was for me. A series of fun adventures in fantastical worlds. And they took it from me! Instead of exploring a dark world, you're just playing a stupid NES game. Except for the third act in the TV world, which I kind of liked. The green room that was teased was all of the adventure. Again, there's no longer a dark world to explore. Oh, but maybe you're exploring the 8-bit world inside the dark world. No! It's just a bunch of sand and desert and sand and pyramids and sand and... Did I mention sand? I don't like sand. There's like no exciting parts of these visuals. It's not in a dark world anymore. It's just a generic so retro game that doesn't even try to be immersive at all. I may not have liked the look of chapter 1, but it's obvious that it tried to be whimsical and picturesque. There was an attempt at something unique here. And even if I didn't like the result, I can still understand why one would like it. But looking at this chapter, I have gotten some requests to make a follow-up on my environments video, but I'm sorry, I don't think there's gonna be a part 2. And maybe one could argue that all this is good because it's breaking from the pattern of having Dark World adventures going from A to Z and being quite formulaic. But I don't know, I quite like the formula. Fortunately, the game gets much better in its third act. Getting to actually explore the TV world was really fun. Yeah, I know it was very similar to the Queen's Mansion segment from the last chapter, but I was just happy I got to actually move around for once. Also, I'd argue that it's better than the aforementioned Queen's Mansion. I really love the minigames and mechanics here. And then, there's the boss fight against Tenna, which as I mentioned previously is my favorite boss so far. Fun minigames, banger song, varying visuals and really intense final attack. And I thought that things were gonna be over after that. I doubted that they do what they did in chapter 2 and throw an extra final boss at you. But then the entire game flips on its head and my mind is blown when... By the way, if you for whatever reason haven't played the chapters yet, then this is your cue to leave before massive spoilers. Okay, 3, 2, 1... Tenna gets fucking killed out of nowhere and the roaring fucking night appears. What? And then there's an actual fight against it, although it's just a cutscene fight, but their design and movement is awesome and Sue says some cool stuff and Undyne appears and challenges the damn knight, but she gets kidnapped and we exit the dark world without seeing it, so she gets thrown into her bunker already. Oh, sorry. The shelter. But what the fuck was that? The chapter had a pretty neat and fun end to it, but then everything goes from 80 to 100 that quickly and I feel utterly flabbergasted. In no way did I expect chapter 3 to be the one to do all this. Also, in case anybody's curious, I am a Death Knighter now, but I won't sit here and pretend like it is 100% confirmed that anybody who disagrees with me is objectively wrong, because that'd be stupid. Well, that ending was fantastic. Thank God there was something that made it not the weakest chapter. Unfortunately, this is the weakest chapter music-wise. Don't get me wrong, there are still great songs here, like with every chapter. Raise Up Your Bat is probably my favorite. I loved its tempo, and also the fact that it had lyrics, but they weren't sung in game, thus giving the fandom the job to create the vocals ourselves. TV World and its TV Time were good respectively. And Black Knife, the Roaring Knight boss song, was quite good, although a bit too loud for my taste. See, the problem is just how empty the OST felt. Not a whole lot of songs I can consider great or memorable. Flashback Excerpt was amazing when I first heard it in chapter 2 Snowgrave, and hearing it at the start of chapter 3 felt insane. But then they just kept on using it and it lost all importance I previously felt it had. I thought this was gonna be this big, lore-heavy song with hidden meaning. Now it just feels like a song that's used whenever there's a mildly sad scene. Maybe some theorists who is better at analyzing music than me could justify how it is both relevant and Noelle struggles with the large fear and trauma she felt during her surreal dream. And when nobody wanted to watch TV anymore. But until then, it's the single song which has fallen off the most for me simply because of overusage. I felt a bit disappointed that the credits just used Until Next Time again. Like this time it ain't even Until Next Time, since we could just play chapter 4 right afterwards. The lack of new songs with the Don't Forget motif in this chapter is another reason for it isn't my favorite OST. Heck, the lack of Don't Forget in chapter 2 was actually the only thing that I didn't like about chapter 2's soundtrack. So the fact that there were even fewer songs with it in this chapter is a real shame. But the real war crime is the reuse of It's Pronounced Rules for the Rules and Weathers fight. The sea shanty felt so optimized for chapter 2, so reusing it here just feels... Wait, what the... The worst part is that this fight is actually really awesome and much better than the previous Rules fight. But the lack of a new song makes me really forget about it. But the thing that I am really blaming for dragging down the soundtrack is those goddamn NES segments! Of course it's always them! In chapter 1, you enter a new dark world into a field, and there's a beautiful and majestic song that plays and evokes the chapter's vibe. In chapter 2, you enter another field, and there's an equally beautiful and fittingly bit-crushed song to capture the chapter's feel. In chapter 3, there are so many of these 8-bit songs in the soundtrack, and they are so boring! They are some of the very few Toby Fox songs that don't feel like they are trying to be great. More just trying to fit the theme of so retro adventure game. And there are so many of them, and oh god, I hate it. Could we just talk about the secret boss already? So turns out, in order to fight the secret boss, I need to replay the chapter again. Yay! I got S rank on round 1 and went to the S rank room where I found the original version of the game, and honestly this was much more fun. Now I actually got the Master Sword, really not hiding the Zelda references here, and it was kind of fun going around beating enemies. I also liked how the solutions to these puzzles often involved beating up the terrain to get into rooms that Tenna would never allow you to access. And dude, that last thing with the Snowgrave parallel was the shit, man. A really cool way to tease the route's existence for all those who are more casual players. And best of all, it was just an optional side quest and not something that took away from the main story. Unfortunately, when I said that the NES songs clouded the soundtrack, this is what did most of the damage. Just a bunch of nothing at the end of the soundtrack. Well, the boss at the end of these minigames was pretty fun. The movement was a bit clunky compared to how clean the rest of the game moves, but it was fun to have such a unique boss in the game. I knew this wouldn't be the actual boss though, so I didn't think too much of the fight. And well, turns out that the secret boss was an extended fight against the knight. I didn't like this fight that much. It has really fun bullet patterns, except for this one knife attack, but everything else just makes me feel scammed. The soul mode pattern is apparently not gonna be a pattern at all. The boss is not an interesting and unique character like Jevil, nor does it give us a chance to see much more of an already amazing character like Spamton, because the knight doesn't talk at all. Yay! There's just nothing new at all that you can get out of this fight, and it makes it feel like a waste of time. There's not even a unique song with a freedom motif, and that's the bare minimum! The fight doesn't bring anything new, it's just the same thing that happens in the main route but with a few extra awesome attacks. What's even the point of the secret boss? It's such a shame how the secret bosses of the previous chapters were some of the greatest parts of the chapter, yet here it just feels like an extended fight and nothing more. Heck, if anything, the fight at the end of the S-rank retro games was more for secret boss. It would still be the weakest secret boss yet, but I will admit that it was a very unique and cool fight in a good way. I'm sorry for ending things on such a negative note. I know that chapter 3 was really exciting for a lot of people, and many will probably write off many of my critiques as me not liking it when things are different. But trust me, I can appreciate uniqueness. I love it actually. But this boss just removes most things good while forgetting to add its own good things. And with those minigames, come on, you can't just take my favorite Explore a Cool Dark World game and remove the part where you explore a cool dark world. I still like the chapter, it has many amazing things that I mentioned previously, and I'm not sure if it's the weakest chapter, but could I just start talking about the actually amazing and groundbreaking chapter now? Chapter 4 is so great, guys. Oh my demon, it's so different from the first two chapters, but still keeps so much of what made it great. Its scope is so high, its visuals go crazy, Susie keeps being awesome and Ralsei becomes more interesting. Why are you flying? I love the soundtrack, I love the visuals, I love Oberon Smog. And it keeps going, but every time it does I just cheer. When chapter 3 hit me with the board drum 2, I was like, ugh. Of course, but when Susie proposed the idea of creating another Dorf filter, I was like, oh my angel, yes, please, you're amazing, Susie, you go girl, slay! I think it's good if I take things from the beginning. Already from the start, stuff just feels nice. The music feels somewhat beautiful already in Lightworld's church. Also, I really appreciate the extra details in animating the expressions of the characters. In previous chapters, I found it a bit odd how much the portraits would change while the overworld sprites stayed stiff. But just compare Noelle in chapter 4 when she's talking to Susie and how she moves in chapter 2 during the Weird Out Burly scene. The team's effort is noticeable to me in more than just the grand moments. Anyways, we can finally explore the castle town again. I love this place. Feels so nice to just have a lobby to chill and talk to people or play minigames in without anything rushing you. I loved Queen's room with these shadow guys constantly bumping into the wall. But also, why did the chapter 1 feel get to have another chance in Castle Town but not the cyber field? 0 out of 10, they should have added the field to Queen's room. The real stuff, however, happens once we get to the holiday house, as we get to see the funniest joke in the entire of Deltarune yet. I mean, gotta make this room is kinda sus. Wait, sus? I did not expect a fucking Among Us joke in Deltarune. Nice reference, Zeus. Among Us jokes are still funny, guys. I don't care if it's 5 years old soon. The fact that we just decided that the phrase "when the imposter is sus" was a funny phrase and we just went with it is hysterical. I made a damn Among Us joke earlier the same stream. Okay, I'm gonna say it. There's an Among Us at every single seat. I can't unsee it. It's filled with the crewmates. And we also got the chance to ask Burley out to the festival. Now that's what I love. Really looking forward to see that play out. And we finally get to see the design of Mayor Holiday. And wow, I hate her already. Then we get to the church dark world and it's so cool, man. I love how it looks. It's about the lighting, man. The window shining light on the characters looks so wonderful. Especially since the sprites actually react to the light. And the colors of these bevels are the best things that I've looked at since this 3D model of KK. It keeps trying to peel my skin off. And I also love the visual style of the Prophecy glass panes. Of course this environment can't be what it is without the beautiful songs to complement it. This does feel like an actual successor to Chapter 1 and 2's Field and Cyber Field. Although not my favorite of the three, it still definitely earns this spot among them due to its majestic vibe. I mean, how can I not love it? It features the Don't Forget motif. Heck, the entire chapter has it everywhere in increasingly beautiful renditions, which is very fitting since this chapter is about the prophecy and the game as a whole. Only negative part about this chapter's art direction is the amount of darkness it has. Okay, first of all, this stuff makes for horrible footage, so let me just put this here. So basically, enjoying art direction is very hard when you can't see it at all due to the visual obscuring gimmick. Heck, even from a gameplay perspective. I thought we as society have for years agreed that darkness-based gimmicks are lame, yet here they are used by one of the greatest video game developers of our time. And worst of all, there are some parts with darkness and slowing gimmicks. I'm gonna blame this bullshit on you, Bernard. I believe the point of these rooms was to show off these cool light-emitting buttons. And well, at least the light they give off is kinda cool. But I don't know, man, it's still darkness. I would prefer it if I could see what I am doing. Anyways, back to the story. After getting chased by this weird creature in the darkness whose presence never gets explained, you find this turtle-looking dude. And... what the... that can't be Alvin. And we saw Miss Boom earlier. And Gerson's dead. Could this be... Well, my suspicions are confirmed later on when it gets revealed that this is just Gerson's dust-covered hammer. Jaru, how the... Jaru, how the fuck did you do this? How? He's here! You know, the funny part about new chapters dropping is that a large chunk of the people watching won't have had any experience consuming the 3 years of theories everyone else has. And are probably very confused right now. Basically, Jar Jar J is the guy who made Deltarune theories that a lot of people thought were outlandish. I personally never believed them, but respected his dedication to making theories nobody else was brave enough to do. And one theory was that the knight would be this guy called Oberon Smog, anagram for Gerson Boom, who would come back to life when his dust got exposed to a dark fountain. And while it's likely not the knight... What the... He actually predicted part of it? Not just the concept of the Dustner, but the fact that Gerson would be one? I think a lot of his doubters honestly owe him an apology considering how many other fears were dead wrong. Anyways, Gerson's character is really charming, and I actually really love him as a secret boss. This is how you do something different. This secret boss feels like the most unique one yet. Partly because the last one didn't even feel like a secret boss, but also because previous chapters both had a theme of fighting some evil lunatic in Church for Freedom. But here we are, just playing against a really powerful good guy. And more than that, we only got Susie this time. But the fight still keeps everything great. There's a return of a soul mode with a new twist, the bullet patterns are awesome and difficult, and the song might actually be my favorite chapters 3 and 4 song. It's got a freedom motif, fuck yeah! And there's also actual new lore information you get out of the fight. And man, that talk in the end about retelling and changing stores was really based off Oberon and felt really fitting in this community of AUs and fan games and the like. My only complaint about this fight is that the fight makes it look like you need to use the Rude Buster spells multiple times to beat him, but when I tried the fight again only using the heal spell, I beat him anyways much easier. Regardless, I do believe that Mr. Smog is my second favorite secret boss after Spam the Neo, which is a real accomplishment. On with the rest of the game. I feel like this Dark World might actually be the best with the overworld puzzle stuff. These puzzles with the moving blocks with the pianos stayed consistently cool, and the twist to later move the pianos themselves was awesome because of how fun it felt to move at such drastic speeds in the Dark World. For years, society has been begging for a way to move in the Y-axis, but it was not until the 21st century where Toby Fox invented the idea of climbing when humans cheered in joy upon being able to use a different movement style. It doesn't feel as smooth as walking on ground since you become completely still every time you charge, but man is it exciting getting new challenges with a brand new moveset. And it had a baller ending with being able to climb on this 3D-esque cylinder. Actually, let me talk about the ending. Bro, this has got to be the most cinematic climax yet. The night job is another fountain with these giant stunning visuals, and we get to fight a fucking titan? I can't imagine that Toby was once planning out these chapters of thinking, yo, after this we're gonna have another chapter to top this in the same drop. Like dude, what is he cooking for chapter 5? And then Gerson returns in an epic moment, god I love it, and eventually we beat the titan and we can seal the dark fountain. And let me tell ya, after so many fountains getting sealed with no melody, hearing Your Power again felt so nice. Very underrated Deltarune song. And then you get home, Sans is there, and apparently Sans is his last name. You go to sleep and credits roll. At the end of them, it says Deltarune Chapter 5, 2026. I predict it'll be October to December since everyone else always expect them to release way sooner than they actually do. But man, I feel like Chapter 5 is gonna be my favorite one ever. Why? Do I just have a feeling? No, my reason is way worse than that. Observe the window right here in Gerson's fight during the part when he talks about Chapter 2. It has a green and blue gradient, probably resembling the Cyber Field and Cyber City. And it looks kind of cool. But take a look at the Chapter 5 part with the pink-orange gradient. This thing is beautiful. Just this little window, stunning. And if the window representing the Cyber Road, one of my favorite things ever, can look kind of cool, then I can't wait to see what Toby's cooking for Chapter 5. Anyways, that's Chapters 3 and 4. I'm so happy these chapters are out. A while ago, whenever I was bored, I would often replay Chapter 2 and occasionally play Chapter 1 if I hadn't done it in too long. But now I've got 4 whole chapters to pick from, and so many battles to play. I'm gonna be replaying the Titan battle, Gerson's battle, and Tenna's rules, the rhythm games, yes, even the Roaring Knight for years, because these battles are all so fun. I don't care if the Roaring Knight was disappointing, its build patterns are still challenging in a good way, and discussing fears is so fun in a way that they haven't been for years. Unfortunately, I never had time to make my bingo before the chapters dropped, so I decided to make it now instead. Some might say it's cheating, but I still failed, so I... Wait, Jokington wasn't here? No, this can't be my goat. Toby, how could you? I have been waiting to see him get importance for years. Why do you keep delaying his relevance? Why did you clickbait all of us with this chapter 4 screenshot? I can't take the Jokington absence anymore. I am even starting to like Caddy more. Oh, but they are mean to Susie. Of course they are. How should they know how much Susie has changed over 2 days? I don't blame Caddy nor Jokington for any of this, and having them in the dark will give them a great opportunity to get to know Susie better. Toby, where is he? I need him!